amazing. I'm really excited to be here. You know, you get a sense online a little bit and from things you hear about what the fans are like in different areas. Of course, I've been to Salt Lake before. And I heard about the Borders prom with like, what, 1,500 people showed up to it? So I knew that this was going to be a fun place to come. And I'm really excited to be here, and I'm excited because I actually have a lot of family out in the audience tonight. And so be nice to everybody. You might be sitting next to my cousin for all you know. I have a bunch of questions here, and I'd like to say thank you because we had a huge box full of really great host questions. I'm glad as the book has been out a little while longer, I'm able to get some really exciting ones to answer. But before I get into those, I just want to really quickly answer like the #1 Twilight question, so we get those out of the way. Okay, #1, the Twilight movie, which of course we're all very excited about. This is what I can tell you. I have not seen, of course the entire movie is not put together yet, but from everything I've seen, the actors are amazingly talented, and they all really fit the parts really well. The director's kind of a genius and so dedicated to this project, and all of the footage that I've seen looks just amazing. So I am really excited about December 12th. I think it's going to be worth the wait. I think we're all going to like it a lot. And then, I can't, of course, say anything about Breaking Dawn, not for lack of being asked, but a lot of people do want to know if it's the last book in the Twilight Saga. And my answer is sort of undecided. It is the last book in the Twilight Saga in that I feel like the Twilight Saga is Bella's story arc, and it will be the last book that she narrates. I may go back to that universe, though, and write from a few other perspectives, so I'm not sure if I'll ever be able to. Okay, so let's get on to the host. Now, there may be some spoilers in here. I wasn't really backstage. I was trying to sign books and look at questions at the same time. So hopefully you've read enough that it's not going to ruin it for you. We'll see. All right. These are in a random order, so it's not going to make a lot of sense how we progress. This one probably should be at the end. The question is, would you ever post outtakes of the scene of Melanie and Jared being reunited on your website? And it's a very interesting question because that is the one outtake that I probably would write. That's the one that I really have seen in my head and I know what happens, so eventually. But here's the thing, when I'm on tour, I'm not writing, and I'm on tour a lot, so we'll see when I get around to that. Okay, here's the next question. You write intense falling in love experiences. Who did you get your inspiration from? Do you believe that people can experience the love you describe in your stories, or is it fantasy to you? I don't think you're going to like the answer to this question, but I could not have written these stories before I had my children. They were my first experience with the kind of love that absolutely without question I would give my life for. You know, I had different boys that I fell in love with off and on, but I always had a really firm grip on reality. But with my kids, I didn't anymore. And that was really my experience with not the kind of, you know, romantic love is obviously a very different thing, but to be able to understand that intensity and the way that you would just do things that are insane and dangerous for somebody, that was when I kind of learned how it feels like that. Okay, here's one that's kind of, again, out of order. At what point did Doc start seeing the Wanderer as a person, and how did that change his outlook? I can't say an exact part in the book when that happens, but I think all of the humans living in the caves get used to her after a while, as you get used to anything. And once you stop looking at someone as an enemy and you start noticing the really good things that they do, and especially because Wanda does a lot of really good things, it's hard not to look at her as a person. Also, Doc is just a very compassionate person, and it doesn't bring him any joy to hurt anyone. And so he's always thinks of her very kindly. He would never be the one to do anything nasty to her as much as she was afraid of that. So Doc's actually one of the easier cases. In fact, let me see. All right, here's the one. that goes right along with that. I clipped two questions together. One was, why did you make Jared so mean? I was bothered that he'd hit her over and over again, and he really only hit her one time, so. And then this other question was, why were Sharon and Maggie so bitter towards Wanda? Someone's excited about that question. And here's the thing, because I wrote this story from the alien's perspective, I think everyone's looking at it from that side and saying, but Wanda means no harm. She's this wonderful, kind person who would never hurt them. How can they be this way? And I think what you need to do as you're trying to understand them is think of the scariest movie you've ever seen with a really scary monster, something that kept you up at night. And then imagine that the whole world is filled with that monster and you're all by yourself with all the rest of them out there. And that you live in horror and fear every single day. And that's a really hard thing to think about. I mean, it's one thing to say the words, but to really imagine that as something else. Then imagine that that monster is in your power. And that you finally have a group of people who are on your side, and one of them comes to you. How would you feel towards him? This person has taken away everything from you. This is your worst enemy in the world. I'm surprised that so many people can understand Wanderer, because it doesn't make sense from a human perspective to think kindly of her at all. And Jared in particular, think of the person you love most in the whole world, and imagine that someone took them from you and then came back with their face, you know, how you would feel towards that person. That he's able to ever overlook who she is an amazing thing to me. It was interesting writing his character, because originally I had kind of planned for him to be the only love interest in the story. But he was very inflexible. And it made sense for his character. When I write, the one thing I can't do is make my characters say something or do something that isn't part of who they are. And so I couldn't make him be something he wasn't. Ian, on the other hand, I enjoyed Ian a lot too. He wasn't supposed to have a part. He barely had a name. But from the first time he opened his mouth to ask Jed, what are you thinking? Why are you doing this? That sense of him wanting to know more and being willing to listen to the answers sort of leaked into his character. And by the time he had his first conversation with Jared, it was over. I was already sold. So he really came in and changed the story and actually made it an ending that I enjoyed a lot more. All right. Why are the souls able to live in a perfect society and the humans failed? Aren't the souls dealing with all the human emotions? Yes. And if you think about it, all of us have human emotions, and some of us try really hard to be good people. We don't always succeed, but we try. And we would never dream of stealing from anyone or hurting anyone or doing anything bad. Then there are other human beings who have the exact same emotions as us, and they don't mind strapping a bomb to themselves and blowing up a crowded square. Humans are capable of an amazing range. The souls aren't the same. They don't have that range. They really can't be anything but kind. So they have the emotions, but like those of us who try to be good people, they're quite well able to handle them. And that's why their society works so much better than ours. Okay, I did this one another time. I'm guessing some people know this answer, but I still love this question. On page 218, please say it is not a coincidence. Jeb says he hears a lot of Jims and Pams. Please say it is because you love The Office. Yes. That was absolutely an Office reference, and I'm really glad people got it. Yeah, that's what I was doing last night, by the way, watching The Office season finale.